Imagine writing React components that are not only more powerful and efficient, but also cleaner, easier to test, and a breeze to maintain. If you've ever felt bogged down by tangled state logic, repetitive code, or sluggish performance, you're about to discover a game-changing toolkit that will transform your workflow starting today. In the next few minutes, you'll unlock the 7 essential React hooks you should be using right now, including one that most developers underestimate, but which can supercharge your applications in ways you might not expect. You'll learn how to banish prop drilling forever, orchestrate seamless side effects, master complex local state with ease, and optimize your UI for blazing fast performance, all without the boilerplate of class components or heavyweight external libraries. We'll walk through practical, real-world examples showing exactly how these hooks solve everyday React challenges, from managing stateful UI, to fetching and caching data, to reducing unnecessary re-renders that slow down your app. In today's fast-evolving front-end landscape, understanding hooks isn't just a nice-to-have. It's the key to writing modern, scalable React apps that delight users and are a joy to work with. Whether you're building a simple dashboard or architecting a production-scale SaaS platform, mastering these hooks will save you time, reduce bugs, and future-proof your codebase for the next generation of React innovations. Don't miss out on the latest patterns and best practices that top developers are already leveraging. Hit subscribe now and join a community dedicated to high-quality React tutorials, actionable insights, and staying ahead in the world of front-end development. Let's dive in and unleash the full potential of React hooks. Your code and your team will thank you. Imagine building a house. Each room has its own purpose, but together they make a livable, well-functioning home. In React, hooks are like the essential tools you use to build each room, each with a unique role, yet all contributing to the overall architecture. Let's start with the cornerstone, useState, the primary mechanism for introducing state, dynamic, changeable data, into functional components. Before hooks, managing state was only possible in class components, which often resulted in verbose and less flexible code. But useState revolutionized this landscape by enabling function components to remember information across renders. For example, consider a light switch. Flipping it toggles between on and off. useState lets you model this behavior in your UI. When the user clicks a button, the internal state changes, and the UI updates to reflect that state, all within a simple, readable function. This mirrors how, in the real world, a switch remains in its current state until acted upon, and the room's lighting updates accordingly. By encapsulating state logic locally, useState makes components more modular and easier to test. Furthermore, it encourages a pattern where each component is responsible for its own data, promoting separation of concerns and reducing the likelihood of unintended side effects in the codebase. This foundational hook is the gateway to interactive, responsive UIs in React, and understanding its mechanics is the first step toward mastering more complex hooks and patterns. Consider the concept of cause and effect. When you flip a switch, the light turns on. In React, the useEffect hook orchestrates these cause and effect relationships within your components. While useState manages what your component knows, useEffect manages what your component does in response to changes, such as fetching data, setting up a subscription, or updating the DOM. Picture useEffect as an event planner. After every render, it checks if something specific has changed and then runs a designated task. If the task requires cleanup, like turning off the lights when leaving a room, useEffect provides a cleanup function to tidy up after itself, preventing resource leaks or outdated side effects. This declarative approach replaces the old, fragmented lifecycle methods of class components, offering a unified, predictable way to handle side effects. The dependency array is the guest list. Only when the listed dependencies change does the effect rerun. This system not only streamlines effects management, but also reduces bugs caused by forgotten cleanup or improper timing. Through useEffect, React components can interact seamlessly with the external world, APIs, timers, or browser events, while maintaining clear, maintainable code. Imagine a relay race where a baton is passed from runner to runner along a chain. In traditional React, passing data through many layers of components, known as prop drilling, is much like this relay, with each runner, component, needing to handle the baton, prop, even if they don't use it themselves. The use context hook offers a shortcut. It creates a shared context that any component can access directly, eliminating unnecessary handoffs. Think of use context as a broadcast system within a building, where announcements, context values, can be heard in any room, component that tunes in, regardless of its position in the hierarchy. This is especially powerful for theming, authentication, or global settings, shared resources that many components need. By leveraging use context, developers can create centralized sources of truth, reducing complexity and improving code readability. Unlike prop drilling, where intermediate components must be aware of and pass down values, use context allows components to remain decoupled and focused on their own responsibilities, promoting maintainability and scalability in larger applications. When orchestrating a complex system, like the gears in a mechanical watch, individual pieces must interact in a precise, predictable manner. In React, UseReducer acts as the watchmaker for component state, handling intricate state transitions with clarity and control. Unlike useState, which is ideal for simple, isolated state, UseReducer excels when state logic involves multiple subvalues or actions, such as managing a multi-step form or a shopping cart. Imagine a wizard interface with several steps and fields. Keeping track of the current step, user inputs, and validation with useState would quickly become unwieldy. Enter UseReducer, which centralizes the logic in a reducer function, a pure function mapping actions to new state. Each action, like a gear turning, produces a specific, predictable result. This structure not only makes state transitions easier to follow and test, but also mirrors patterns used in Redux, promoting consistency across projects. Surprisingly, UseReducer shines not just in global or app-wide state, but also for robust local state management, offering testable, maintainable solutions for components with evolving, interrelated data. By adopting UseReducer, developers empower their UIs to handle complexity with elegance and precision, reducing bugs and enhancing user experiences. Think of passing information down a telephone line. Each time the message changes, the entire line must be updated. In React, when functions are recreated on every render, this can lead to unnecessary updates in child components, especially those optimized with React.memo. The use callback hook acts like a stable telephone line, ensuring the message, function, remains unchanged unless its dependencies truly change. By memoizing a function, use callback prevents its recreation across renders, optimizing performance, and reducing needless re-renders downstream. This is particularly vital in lists or deeply nested components, where functions are frequently passed as props. Without use callback, even unchanged logic can trigger expensive re-renders, wasting resources and degrading user experience. With use callback, developers gain fine-grained control over when and why functions update, making it a subtle yet powerful tool for high-performance React applications. By applying use callback judiciously, teams strike a balance between code clarity and optimal render cycles, ensuring smooth, efficient UIs. Imagine a toolbox containing not only tools for building, but also tools for measuring and referencing. In React, useref serves as this multi-purpose instrument, providing persistent, mutable storage that doesn't trigger re-renders. Unlike useState, which updates the UI when its value changes, useref stores data that lives across renders but remains hidden from React's update cycle. This is especially useful for interacting with the DOM, such as focusing an input field or controlling media playback, where you need direct access to elements. It also helps manage mutable values like timers, previous values, or external object references. Think of useref as a clipboard. You jot down information you need to remember, but don't want the entire system to react every time you make a note. By using useref for non-visual, persistent data, developers avoid unnecessary updates and maintain clear separation between UI-driven state and behind-the-scenes logic, resulting in more efficient and organized components. Consider a chef preparing a complex dish. Rather than re-chopping ingredients for every plate, the chef preps once and reuses what's already prepared when possible. In React, useMemo plays a similar role by caching the results of expensive computations and recalculating them only when necessary dependencies change. This memoization optimizes performance, especially in scenarios involving heavy data processing or derived values from large lists. Without useMemo, every render would recalculate these values, potentially leading to sluggish UIs. By judiciously applying useMemo, developers ensure that components remain responsive, recalculating only when truly needed, much like a chef saving time and effort by reusing prepped ingredients. This approach is essential for scaling React applications, where performance bottlenecks can arise from frequent unnecessary computations. With useMemo, teams strike a balance between computational efficiency and code clarity, delivering snappy user experiences without sacrificing maintainability. This is the main application file that demonstrates the usage of all 7 must-use React hooks. Each hook is showcased through a dedicated component, and navigation is provided to switch between the examples. Integration of useState, useEffect, useContext, useReducer, useCallback, useRef, and useMemo is highlighted through practical UI patterns and real-world scenarios. This component demonstrates the useState hook for toggling a Boolean value. It is a simple button that switches between on and off states. This component demonstrates the useEffect hook by fetching user data from an external API and displaying it. It shows a loading state while the fetch is in progress. This file provides a theme context and theme provider using useContext and useState. It exports a custom useTheme hook for consuming the theme context value. This component demonstrates useContext by consuming the theme context and allowing users to toggle between light and dark themes. This component demonstrates the useReducer hook for managing complex state in a multi-step wizard form. Each step can update its own fields, and navigation between steps is controlled by reducer actions. This component demonstrates the useCallback hook by memoizing the click handler for list items, preventing unnecessary re-renders of memoized child components. This component demonstrates the useRef hook by assigning a ref to an input and focusing it programmatically. This component demonstrates the useMemo hook by filtering a list of items based on a search query. The expensive filter operation is memoized to optimize performance. This test file verifies the toggle button component's logic by simulating a click and checking the state change. This test file verifies that user profile fetches and displays user data. This test file verifies the step navigation and field update logic in the wizard component. This package.json file contains all essential dependencies and scripts to run and test the React application. The walkthrough begins with a hands-on exploration of the 7 essential React hooks in a live demo application. First, the section on useState, the fundamental state hook, is in focus. A counter component is displayed, featuring buttons labeled increase, decrease, and random color. The counter value is increased and decreased by clicking the respective buttons, and the component's color changes after clicking the random color button, demonstrating dynamic state and UI updates in real time. The demo then transitions to the useEffect, orchestrating side effects section. Here, a user profile component fetches and displays information about a random user. Upon clicking the Fetch New User button, Updated user data is loaded and shown, illustrating how side effects like data fetching are managed seamlessly within React components. Next, in the use context, prop drilling's antidote area, a theme switcher component appears. The current theme can be toggled between light and dark modes by clicking the corresponding buttons. The UI updates instantly, adopting the selected color scheme, showcasing how context provides shared state to deeply nested components without prop drilling. The walkthrough proceeds to use reducer robust state management. A multi-step wizard interface is presented. The first step prompts for a username, which is entered as Alice. Advancing to the second step, the full name field is filled with Alice Wonderland, and the age field is set to 28. After proceeding to the third step, the wizard displays a summary of the entered data. The reset button is then used to restart the wizard, confirming that complex multi-stage state transitions can be handled elegantly and predictably. In the use callback function memoization for performance segment, a selectable list component is demonstrated. The filter input is used to search for items containing 5, and the filtered result, item 05, appears. Clicking on this item highlights it, indicating selection. The component efficiently updates only the relevant list items, underscoring the performance benefits of function memoization. Attention shifts to useref, mutable values, and DOM access. Here, an input field is available with the placeholder type and click focus. Text is entered into the input, and clicking the Focus Input button programmatically focuses the input field. Additionally, a render count is displayed, showing how refs can persist mutable values and access DOM elements without triggering re-renders. Finally, the Use Memo, Optimizing Expensive Computations section, presents a fruit filtering component. Typing fruit A into the filter input narrows the list to only those fruits matching the criteria. The dynamic filtering is swift and efficient, highlighting how memoization optimizes expensive calculations and renders. The demo concludes with a scroll to the application's tip section, visually reinforcing key takeaways for using React hooks effectively in real projects. You've just unlocked 7 React hooks that can immediately upgrade the way you build apps, making your components cleaner, your code more reusable, and your workflow dramatically faster. Imagine how much time you'll save now that you can avoid prop drilling with use context, confidently manage complex interactions with use reducer, and squeeze every bit of performance out of your UI with use callback and use memo. These aren't just theoretical tips. They're practical tools you can start using in your projects today, leading to less debugging, easier testing, and more maintainable code. If you're ready to keep leveling up, hit subscribe now. Why? Because every week you'll get new, real-world React strategies and step-by-step examples that you can plug straight into your daily work. No fluff, just solid gains for your professional growth. Keep exploring, keep building, and let's supercharge your React skills together.